So, sir, as you know, I'm a huge fan and a huge follower of YSS, which is the Yoganand Satsang Society, which is which was originally founded by Mr. Yoganand Paramahansa, who's also my yoga guru. His book Autobiography of a Yogi has influenced me a lot. It's influenced Virat Kohli a lot. It's influenced Steve Jobs a lot. And really, I feel like that book has all the answers you could ever have in life.
Yes. If you have not read the book, make sure you do, because it's a life-changing book.
Yeah.
It's a book that has influenced millions of people directly.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm sure if you read it...
And millions of leaders.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that's a must read. If you have not read it, sorry.
Yeah, but it's also a very heavy book to read. It's not everyone's cup of tea. You have to really spend time on that book. You have to probably sit with a dictionary on the side and like read it. It's very difficult.
But it actually got India to a different level in the Western world, philosophically.
Yeah.
It's deep, but it's sure to impact you.
And so one of the key stories mentioned in that book, okay, before I talk about the story, let's talk about one of the key angles of the book, is that there's too many parallels between ancient yogic culture and the Bible.
Yes.
There is too many parallels. Like they've actually, almost in every chapter, they extract a verse from the Bible and then compare it to something which is a teaching from yoga. Let's not get into the details of the philosophies, but let's talk about one of the stories, which was that if you actually study the history of Jesus Christ, so I think he was born around Israel, like he was born in Jerusalem, and that was his general area, Israel, Palestine. So there's a track record of him till the point where he's a teenager, and then directly we jump to the point where he's 30 years and above. And there's one whole period in the middle where no one knows where he went, what he did, and there's no track record of that. Now, according to ancient Indian books, according to yogic sciences, they talk about Jesus Christ, and they say that he actually spent a lot of time in India learning something called Kriya Yoga, which is also the main kind of teaching of the YSS, the main teaching of the Autobiography of a Yogi. So to give the viewers some kind of a introduction to Kriya Yoga, this is a whole podcast topic by itself, but it's basically a very advanced form of yoga. Now, when normally people think of yoga, they think of all those asanas and bending your body in different ways. But yoga has a lot to do with your mind also. You can bend your mind in different ways. You can, work with your soul in different ways. And Kriya Yoga involves your mind and your soul a lot, as much as it does your body. The result of this is that you get a lot of spiritual progress. Like by doing your Kriya Yoga, you advance a lot spiritually.
Yes.
Which leads to actually, on a biological level, brain development. It adds a lot of capacity to your brain. When they say, oh, your human mind only uses 7 to 8% of its total capacity.
Yes.
An activity like Kriya Yoga unlocks the remaining 92%, the remaining 90% of it. And that's what they say Jesus Christ did for 12 years. He went to the Himalayas. He got trained by the local Kriya yogis and then took that knowledge out west. And if you actually go and see the origins of any kind of religion in the world, it always somehow begins with something related to yoga. I'm not saying related to Hinduism or India, just related to yoga as a concept. Manipulating the human body, manipulating the human mind to achieve your maximum potential. Yes. Now, Kriya Yoga was lost both in India and by the West over time because people stopped practicing it. But it's arising again. People are getting more aware about it in the times we live in. So, my question to you is, have you heard this story of Jesus, and what do you have to say about like this whole so-called conspiracy theory?
Yes, of course, I heard about this, and a lot of people have written about it. There are fictional novels about it and historical references also about it. And as you rightly pointed out, if you read Autobiography of a Yogi, you do get references of it. Now, I'm not a scholar on the subject, but I wouldn't be against this particular theory, saying that Jesus never came to India. I'll tell you, logically, for me, it looks that anybody who has served the world directly, indirectly, is a spiritual person, whichever part of the world you are in. And India has been the center of spirituality for the whole world, for human history. So whether he physically came or no, could be debatable. But the fact is that I'm sure whichever era, whoever a great master lived, he or she has got influenced by India. And let me come very specific, the Himalayas. See, what has happened about this particular great country is that, it's almost like a spiritual center. Now, let's say I have this particular hall and I want to charge a mobile. I'm going to use the mobile. But there will be some particular point in where I have to go charge it. So, India has always been the spiritual charging point of all spiritual gurus. So, directly, indirectly, I know that this theory could be true because he must have come here. And I read somewhere, I don't remember where what the reference is, that he actually went to a particular place in Kashmir, and there is a particular place where a name is equal to Jesus, and there are some books written on it. Coming back, what is the essence of it? The essence, whether he came or no, is one part of it. But is Jesus respected as a great saint? Yes. And if you look at his theories, they're very much close to what we Indians believed in, the theory of non-violence. So if you look at the parallels, I mean, he was a great saint who believed, whatever be thy will be done. I mean, that's exactly what we believe in India. In our country, saying that you do your best and leave the rest. So what happens is that you may do everything, but at the end of it, finally, it's about giving up to something higher.
Yeah.
The other thing I definitely believe in is that, the impact that Jesus created is among very few people in this world would have done. Swami Vivekananda speaks about Jesus and the impact that he had globally. So I think irrespective of whether you follow a religion or no, they are some of the greatest masters of the world. And if you study their life and you come and say, yes, these are basically some of the common yogic practices. Let me give you one instance to draw a commonality. The Bible, maybe the followers of Jesus who documented the Bible and all, they say about, everything began with a sound. Now for us, it's Om, right? Om is the creation of the whole world. So if you look at, there are parallels, and again, Om comes from a lot of theories that we have in yoga. The pranayama, a lot of these particular concepts. So no doubt about it that it could be a real fact that Jesus must have come to India. Absolutely, whether you accept it or no, the reference or no. But why not, and what are we saying? It's actually a great spiritual practice called the Kriya Yoga. The last point is that what is Kriya Yoga? I think you mentioned about it. Please practice it.
But it needs to be trained, like you need to be trained in it.
Through a guru.
Yeah, through
Never do it alone. If you do yoga on your own, that's okay. But when you get to finer aspects of yoga, if you don't have a guru, you can break your back.
Yeah.
In the same way, Kriya Yoga is not a physical level. It's highly intellectual, mental. You can go bonkers.
Yeah.
So practice whichever form. Even if you want to learn cricket, you require a coach, right? So if you have to practice Kriya Yoga, make sure that you are having the right guru who will teach you in that particular path, because sometimes you get misguided. If you want to achieve the highest form of yoga, be it Kriya Yoga or anything, make sure you have a guru.
Are you a Kriya Yogi?
I am a practitioner of meditation. For my practice form is basically the Vedantic method, which we call the Panchakoshas. And again, it's parallel to Kriya Yoga. So you may choose various paths. So my path is Vedantic, but that doesn't mean I'm different from Kriya Yoga.
Yeah, it's the
Finally, at the end of it, it's all about the mind and merging with the universe.
100%. So. Also, I think a lot of people are wondering ki Kriya Yoga start kaise kare, where can we actually find a guru? The practical solution in 2019 is that, at least from what I have heard, Isha Foundation, which is run by Sadhguru, they conduct fantastic programs. And obviously, you can reach out to your nearest YSS. That is what I recommend on a personal level. But you really need to, as we call it, vibe with that whole community. If you find sense in what they're saying, if you understand the science that they talk about and you feel ki haan yaar, they're talking sense, that's when you go for it. When you are 100% sure that, okay, this is where I want to be.
And one tip, Ranveer, you know this, that instead of waiting for a guru, have the deep urge for wanting a guru.
Yeah. And the guru will appear.
He will. He has to. In fact, I always believe that if the student is ready, the teacher would come. So if the yogi inside you is ready, the yoga teacher will come.
Yeah.